Hello, everybody. Welcome to Political Football. My name is Dave. I'm here with Scott and Cleve. We are part of the Matty Ice Media Network. Cleve, how are you doing today?
Not good. I gotta ask you guys something.
Oh boy.
No. It's actually off cuff, but
Okay.
I was shout out to Matty Ice and Coach. I was on their show yesterday as a guest. My agent got me a spot on the show, and it was great. I got tip shamed yesterday, and Dave, I actually want your opinion on this because you work in an industry where that could possibly, be a thing depending on service and stuff like that. And
For
Scott,
sure.
I definitely want your opinion on this as well. So I'm not gonna name the place. I go to get takeout last night. Ordered the food, had to drive there, get out of the car, walk into the establishment, walk to the counter. The guy slides the food over. He turns a little iPad thing around to make me, I'm going to pay for the food. And then it has like the tip stuff comes up. So I go to press 0 because I'm slaved warhead right now. Like I'm just going to press 0. We lock eyes and he's looking at me like, I know you're not going to press 0 for that, right? And he didn't say it, but his eyes said it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, fuck that, 0 tip. Got in the car, felt a little guilty. I'm like, shit, but what's the protocol there? I'm dying to hear what you guys would have to say. Coach and Matty Ice had their perspective on it, but I want to hear my guys.
Okay, so a couple things here. You don't need to name the place, but the type of place is very important. So What kind of food? Was it a chain, and how big was the order?
Orders just about $25 ish, maybe 26 ish.
Mm-hmm.
Fast takeout, American bar food, just like chicken wings, that type of thing.
Is
the
it
guy the guy, it wasn't a big chain, but the guy literally walked to the fucking counter from the kitchen with the bag.
Is it a place that's a restaurant as well, where people usually go and sit and takeout's like not their main thing?
Yeah.
So like the restaurant culture is more the thing there?
Yes. And I think that's why the approach was what it was.
Yeah. Scott, what do you think?
So I'm not the perfect person to answer this question, just because I don't have any perspective as to any of this nonsense. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I know what I do for the most part is I will do like 10% or 15 or whatever it is. But if some dude's gonna give you that look before you do, I'm with you, man. Like, it's like, really, yeah. I mean, if it's an expectation, I think that's a different story.
Yep.
But again, I don't have any real ideas as to what the real good reason is. I mean, if it's a restaurant and it's like it's just takeout, I think you're fine.
Okay.
Let me add a little bit of color, Dave, before you ask. Let me add a little color to it. So basically, I am a tipper. Like if I'm sitting in a restaurant, food comes out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ordering. They're working their ass off. The place is busy. I get it because again, it's the right thing to do. I'm not gonna stiff someone. Like when I was younger, I was that guy. Like I would walk out, eat, walk out, wipe off, whatever. And then like I had a guy come to me to the car, which changed my whole life with this. Come to the car, like I'm getting in my car, and he's like, "Hey, was there something wrong?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You didn't leave a tip." And I was like, "Wear a fucking hat in the rain." And he was like, "Wow, you're one of those guys." And then like we talked or whatever. He's like, "Hey, I make shit on this job. I'm a college kid, whatever." So it made me reach, and then it made me think about what they make and how they kind of survive on these tips. So I changed my whole perspective on it. But like the look was like I'm looking down to get ready to like punch, whatever, and then put my card in and sign my name, whatever, with my finger. And he's looking directly at me as I'm fingering over like the tip thing, 10%, 20%, whatever. And he's just looking at me. And I looked him right back in the eye and I just pressed 0. And he just like looked at me. And then he spun it back around and like pretty much like, get the fuck out of here.
Okay. So here's the thing, and you're not going to like this.
Okay. See, I knew it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. You needed a tip, and here's why. Because you're in a restaurant. The fact that you're getting takeout doesn't really change anything, because the guy who's doing the takeout, all the prep work behind the takeout, is still the same people working the tables or whatever, right? So it's not like you're giving that money like just directly to this one person who came out from behind the counter. It goes to the staff working at the restaurant. So when it's a restaurant setting like that, a place where most of their business is people go in and sit down and order at the table, you got to tip on the takeout too. Now, I don't think you have to tip as much because you're not tipping directly to your server who's taking care of you the entire time. So on 25, if you do $5, like I think like you're good. Yeah, even if you did 10%, if you did 250, like just a little something. So each takeout order, they get a little bit of that as well. The area where I have an issue with is when it's like an all takeout place or a majority takeout place, like most Chinese restaurants.
Yeah.
Or a Starbucks.
Oh, yeah, that's happening now too a lot.
Yeah, and it's
noticed that.
Because to me at Starbucks, I think like kind of depends on your order. If you order like a 17-word crazy whatever, well then I can see why you need to throw a little bit in the jar for the barista, but when you want to go black coffee. Yeah. So, tipping is weird. It's culturally weird. It doesn't seem weird to us because we do it here, but we're like one of the only countries where this happens. There's been studies in the past to show that the entire practice is racist, even inadvertently. Like some of these studies, I believe one was done by Cornell. This was a while ago, but they found that this is not going to shock anybody, but white people tipped white servers more than black servers.
Really? Wow.
But they also found that black people tipped white servers more than black servers.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the practice itself is just so not great, but we don't want to pay $29-$30 for the same takeout and not have to worry about it. Right? That's the hang up.
Yeah. So when I got married, I got married in Grenada, and part of my package, Paul, part of my package was having a butler, that was butlering the entire time that I was there. So like this guy would be in like full tails, like standing, it's like blazing sun, he's standing at the pool with a towel around his hand, like as I get out and shit like that. And I'm like, dude, I was like, honestly, like this is kind of weird for me, just have someone in waiting. And he was like, hey, I kind of survived. This is my job here. I got to feed a family, whatever. And then when I warmed up to like having him at my beck and call, I really just need him to like ride me around because the property was massive. But like he stood there sometimes with his hand out, like catching breeze. Like he's just like, and I'm like, I'm already paying like a mint to have you just do this extra on top now. Like he's like I would like say, okay, I'm good, man. And he was just standing. I'm like, what's up? And he's just like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
So here's the thing. Tips aren't extra on top in any context, right? Tips are companies placing the burden of paying the employees onto their customers, but they aren't extra on top, right? That cost needs to go somewhere, and it should go to the cost of the food, and then they pay the employees appropriately. That's the way it should be done. That's the way it's done in most places, right? So when you're ordering something, when you're looking on DoorDash or whatever, the cost of the tip is part of the cost. It's not an additional. It's not a throw-in. It's not an extra. It's like, you said when you were younger, you would walk out on tips, right? To me, walking out on a tip, but like, for no reason. Actually, I don't think there's ever really a reason not to tip, but walking out on a
service.
Tip, nope.
Shitty service.
I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Walking on a tip is kind of like walking out on the bill. Like it's the same thing principally, because it's still money owed, right? It's not extra. It's not just because. It's not on a whim. It might not be legally the same thing, but spiritually it's the same thing. And it might be even worse, because if you pay the bill but don't tip, you're paying the fucking Denny's and not the poor person working there. You know what I mean? So, yes. The other point you brought up for poor service, there are many circumstances where you receive service where tipping's not expected, at the bank, retail stores, at the grocery store, those sorts of things, right? If you receive poor service at the grocery store, what do you do?
I mean, I've never been approached to be tipped in the grocery store.
No. If you receive bad service.
Oh, I might go to a manager and say, hey man, what the fuck's wrong with your guy?
Right. What would you do if a bank teller was rude to you?
Same thing. I'm like, hey, I got a lot of money in this bank, and if this continues to happen, I'll take my money out.
What do you think you should do in the restaurant?
Hey, this is unacceptable that this guy's coming up to me, fucking handout. Like, what's going on?
The difference is at the bank and the grocery store, you going with the manager doesn't take any money out of the pocket of the employee, right? No matter how big of an asshole they are or how bad they screw up, they're getting paid the same anyways. In a restaurant, though, we can justify I'm not going to tip because the service was so poor, but really at its core, that's just vindictive, right? The proper thing is the same as the other circumstances. Go to the manager and say, what's going on here? Now you want to scale it back a little bit, something like that. The other thing with that is that a lot of people don't realize whose fault what is, right? The food takes forever to come out. Well, is that the kitchen in the back or was the server not paying attention? Right?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, they're not refilling the drinks fast enough. Well, are they understaffed? Are only 2 people working? Like, you just don't always know exactly what's going on. Even if somebody's rude, like even if you have a server who just says something, not like a racial slur, but is just like rude. You know what I mean?
Like, hurry up. Like,
yeah, we don't know. They're having a bad day. They're got a flat tire on the way in.
Not my job. Not my fucking problem, Dave. That's not my problem. Go
yes,
work somewhere else.
Yes, but when you go to a restaurant, paying the salaries of the people who work there is your problem. That's part of the deal when you go in. And so
I don't agree with that.
Thank you, Scott.
In theory, I don't, because when he's going to pick up takeout, I don't think any of that stuff you said applies.
Takeout. Thank you, Scott. Takeout. Yeah, the guy's bringing the fucking back 100 feet from the fucking back. That's it.
It doesn't matter what the effort is. It's the expectation of the way the culture is set up to pay these employees. Right.
Okay, so but how did this whole thing exist 10 years ago when you never tipped anybody for takeout? Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. This is a new thing. Yeah, I don't remember this 10 years ago, Scott, honestly.
Didn't happen.
Yes, you are correct. The world has improved to where there's now more money going to these poor employees. Yes, terrible. Awful. We should definitely go back. I'll tell you what, let's just go back to the 50s when like you couldn't even tip me in Clev. We'll just go way back. We'll go back to the 1850s. You have to pay me in Clev.
So not to beat a dead horse so we can move on to some football. So in Jersey, it's illegal to pump your own gas, as you guys may know. Like when I first came to Virginia, I sat in my car for about a good 10 minutes on Jefferson Davis, and the guy walked out. He's like, "Hey, is something wrong?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no one came out to get, to pump gas for me." He's like, and then he saw my place. He's like, "Oh, no, you pump it here." And I'm like, "I've never touched a pump in my life." He's like, "Well, I'll show you." And it was embarrassing. This was the same night as another embarrassing event. So he showed me how to pump the gas, and I'm like, "That's it." So in Jersey, you pay like a delivery fee, or it's like hidden in the actual pumping of the gas, and they sometimes stand around for a fucking tip for pumping gas, and I get it because it's cold weather, it's rainy, sleeting outside, shit, hot outside, whatever. So like they'll stand at your window, and how they do it is they'll start like window washing your shit, and then that's like where the tip like kind of gets brought up. Like the guy walk around and like just look at you like, hey.
I won't get gas in New Jersey. I go to Cape May like twice a year. I won't get gas in Jersey. I will make sure I fill up in Delaware, that I have enough so I can get back out again. I'm not. The idea of somebody else pumping my gas is emasculating, and I'm just going to admit it.
Well, it's a privilege in New Jersey because my entire driving life, which from like 16 till now, I'm sitting in my car and I just roll up, window down. Card goes out or cash goes out, the guy does his job, and then see ya. Well, if he window washes me, then I gotta throw him a buck or whatever. But it's kind of like the New Jersey thing, the tri-state area.
Yeah, no, terrible. So Paul makes a couple of good points here, and so this is right. First, he says if you were not tipping on takeout from a sit-down restaurant 10 years ago, that is a you problem.
Wow.
He points out
Paul, it's brutal.
The waitresses are doing the work, putting the order together, which takes away time from their regular tables. Exactly. Like the takeout order doesn't magically come together just because like we don't see it happen, right? The same people who bring it, like it's the work involved. And when you order food from a restaurant, the way our culture is set up is that you are paying the wages, partly wages, and the majority of the wages before you even agree to go in the door. Like, I'm going into this place. This is part of what it is. This is the deal. Like, if you don't want to tip, you shouldn't even be going. And I can understand why in that situation, Cleve, you would see it as like a gray area. I'm not like trying to come down on you, like
No. I really
makes sense to me.
want an insight on this. I
Yeah.
really want an insight.
But if you go into a restaurant, especially like a restaurant, you get takeout from an Applebee's or something. I mean, first of all, what are you doing? But if you get takeout from an Applebee's or something, you got to tip like you sat at the table at Applebee's, and like I mean, that's just how it is. Like you can't skimp on it there. It's going to the same people, doing the same work, doing the same thing. Now, an exclusively takeout place, like a place that only does takeout, I still think you should tip, but I can see why you'd scale it back some because there are no regular tables. There's nothing to take away from. It's just what they're doing. But like, it's weird. We don't tip at McDonald's.
No.
Right? Like, which doesn't make much sense.
But I mean, but if you look at the pads now, they sneak it in there now. Like when you any iPad thing or whatever, swipe your card, that shit's on there now. Like I started noticing, like when they started doing this shit, Starbucks now. I'm like, what's going on with this?
And that's what I was saying. I don't remember that being a thing. I mean, 10 years ago, you would tip people, you would give them cash.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it being like on the receipt or part of the process of paying kind of stuff. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Ben says in the town I live in, the mayor is the guy that works the full service pump.
Well, how small is this town?
Wow.
Yeah, Ben, I don't want to dox you if you don't want to. Scott would obviously know what town you're in. If you want to put it in there, go ahead, or give me the go ahead, I'll say. But it's not in Jersey. So I assume the mayor's out here just trying to get trying to get votes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Jake made a point here. Jake said that waiters and waitresses would lose a lot of income and hourly wages if would lose a lot of income if hourly wages were raised and the tip culture went away. They do not want that, even if it be more profit for consumers. Americans are stuck. That's not true. The truth is that this class of workers is criminally underpaid. And so the fact that they wouldn't lunch up even more, like so here's the thing, because of tipping culture, there's too many of these restaurants. Like there are so many Applebee's, Ruby Tuesdays, TGI Fridays. They're all the same place. They all do the same thing and they don't pay their workers enough. Like there should be 25% as many paying all their employees 75% more.
So places like the Chart House, you've eaten there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, expensive fucking place for seafood and other eating.
Yeah.
I can't remember this or not. Like I think they put their gratuity on like in it, like because your bill is going to be like a few $100. Mm-hmm. So they put it already built in, so like you can't get around like not paying it.
Yes.
And
so they're hitting you for like 18% before you even pay.
Yeah, before it even like lands on the table, like that's coming out that case there. So
yeah, but
wow.
But here's the thing, like if this is not just for restaurant workers, this is for a lot of different industries. Everything is too cheap because what we do is that we don't pay workers enough money to live on. And then we use tax money to subsidize that through various programs instead. So McDonald's can get away with paying non-livable wages because the rest of us will put together with our tax money to subsidize that difference, right? Mm. There's no reason why McDonald's can't pay that. And if they can't afford it, that means there are too many McDonald's in the world, right? And they need to close some, right? We should not be subsidizing with our tax money the expansion of these restaurants. And that's what's happening. So there may end up being fewer restaurants, but that's fine if the people working there were to make more money. Like people are criminally underpaid across the board in this country. And this is just one area where it's easy to see. Tipping makes it unique because we don't worry about tipping at the grocery store. Like I mentioned, people are also horribly underpaid by and large.
Okay. I'm glad you said that, and we can bury this thing. So I work in property management. That's my main gig other than training, right? I've been in property management for like forever. And we tell our residents do not tip our maintenance guys because they're paid pretty good. So they come into your place, they fix a clock, sink or whatever. You might throw them a couple of bucks. Now, the gray area is like when it's Christmas time, they want to give them a card full of money, whatever. I don't want to know about it. I just, if somebody gave you something, it's between you and them. I don't give a shit about it. Right. So with that, some of these guys that I used to work with, I had to like write up and reprimand because they would push the agenda, because saying some of the penthouses and stuff that these guys were like, kind of like linger around looking for that little bump. And that's where I'm like, well, obviously we're talking about food here primarily, but basically in any field of service, you do a good job, this tipping always applies. So I just want you guys insight on it, because it was just it was a funny moment. It didn't piss me off, but it just made me pause. like I'm like, because the guy like looked at me like, maybe you don't know or don't care, or maybe this is a one-off or whatever. But I was like, I'm driving home, I'm like, should I have tipped there? Like, shit, what's going on with that? So
yeah, so the answer is yes, you should have, but it's not the same situation as when you were a punk kid just running out on tipping people, right? You didn't like revert to your old ways. So
I worked late in life, man. I was privileged enough to work when I was like 21, was like my first real job.
Oh,
I didn't work as a teenager. I just had to go to school. My parents just bankrolled me, whatever it is. Like, you're just gonna just get good grades. That's it. So when I got a job, I was like way behind, because I'm like, you got to be here at 7:00 every day, or just some of the time, or all of the time. Like, what's the deal here, bro? Crazy shit.
All right. Well, we got a little sidetracked there, but it was a great conversation. Really good thing to discuss. This is, the rabbit hole here, and you can tell Paul and I have gone down this. I work as a hotel concierge, so this is a part of life for me right now. And I work in one of those gray area situations. I will do the same service for one person and get nothing. I'll do the same service for another person, get $20, right? Like, it just depends on the situation. But before we move on to the football, because this is actually a football podcast, although I love having the conversations like that. I do want to mention this part of the Matty Ice Media Network, and we have to talk about big game pre-show Bedlam coming up this Sunday, from 12 to 3. The entire Matty Ice Media Network, not the entire network, but 3 of the shows on the network going to be going back to back to back. From noon to 1, Iceman and Coach. From 1 to 2, it'll be the 3 knuckleheads right here. And then from hour 3, it'll be reading the defense. So we are actually going to do our Super Bowl preview and season-long awards review on Sunday. So if you want to hear our thoughts for the Super Bowl coming up, it's going to be on Sunday, right? The matchups between, how likely is Quez Watkins to catch an 80-yard touchdown. Like, that might be nice for me, something like that, right? We'll break down the actual game on Sunday, as well as review our awards predictions. And just as a reminder for the listeners, Clev predicted the offensive player of the year would be Baker Mayfield.
Jesus Christ, that was too early.
It was the day before the season started.
That's a long time ago.
Man,
I went back and listened to the episode today. Clev, there were some things you said that were prescient and really smart, and there were some things you said that weren't. But that actually is true for all of us. That is true for all of us. So we'll be discussing those. We'll be discussing those on Sunday.
That's criminal that I said that. That's criminal.
I'm pretty sure it was the worst take you had in that episode.
No, it was. I think it's 1A. It's 1A and 1B with DJ Metcalf being a bust. So it's
yes, that was actually a worse overall statement, but it wasn't in that episode. You also said the 49ers would win 4 games this year, which is pretty out there.
Jesus,
all right.
Like,
so we'll discuss those, go back to those on Sunday, and we'll preview the actual Super Bowl itself. Then, okay. So the biggest news that happened, of course, happened the morning after our last episode. So this is old news at this point, but still something we have to discuss. After 23 seasons, the absolute GOAT has finally retired. Tom Brady has hung up his cleats for good. Personally, I believe him. And the way he did this, Scott, I thought was very interesting. He went on IG Live and did not tell anyone beforehand.
Yeah, I guess the rumors are, or whether this is confirmed or not, I'm not sure. But he had recorded that, or some portion of that days before. So I don't know that it was an let's just say he learned from last year. I mean, I think he even made the comment that you get one big, thank you letter kind of thing. This was just a very different way of doing it. But, I mean, you guys saw the contract he signed with Fox, right?
Yeah.
Yes, although he's not starting until next season.
Yeah. And I think it's just he's taking, rightly so, he's taking some time to just chill with his kids and whatever he's got going on. I can't imagine what life has been like for everybody involved with him playing football and just being so, 9-10 months a year being not there. They're gonna really find out what they think of him though with them being home.
Them being around.
Dad's a real asshole kind of thing.
Ben asked, who did he have to tell beforehand? It's not that he had to tell anybody beforehand. It's that last year he got scooped by Schefter.
Yeah. So, so I don't think there's this perspective that he just woke up and whatever day it was and decided on a whim I'm going to go out to the beach and tell everybody. I think he knew, right? Yeah. So, obviously, Dave, you said it. He's the greatest. He's probably the greatest football player I'm sure all of us feel that way, have ever seen. I mean, there's the skill position stuff and the speed of other players and different position stuff, but there's really nobody who's done what he's done. So at the level he did it for.
So Clev and I were discussing this offline, and to me, there's a distinct difference between greatest and best. Right. Best is just a measure of your ability to do something. Greatest measures your ability and your accomplishments all kind of rolled together.
Yeah.
Right. Like Frank Gore is like fourth on the all-time rushing list. He is not the fourth best running back to ever play the game. Right. So if you play 23 seasons, you're going to get a lot of achievements and whatever. And Tom Brady is definitely like a great, like really skilled and an awesome player. I just think he was the best player ever, but he is definitely the greatest. So I'm just going to read this off here real quick, Cleve, because you were trying to make this point, and this is a hard one to refute. So for Tom Brady, 23 seasons, 251 games won, 7 Super Bowl wins, 649 career touchdown passes, 89,200 regular season passing yards, 12,000 attempts, 7,700 completions, only player to pass for at least 100,000 yards, most games started 333, 35 playoff wins, 13,000 playoff passing yards, 88 passing touchdowns, 14 playoff game-winning drives, 505 passing yards in a playoff game, 21 Super Bowl passing touchdowns, 3,000 Super Bowl passing yards, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 35 career playoff wins, 19 more than any other quarterback. Second place is Joe Montana with 16, and 5-time Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah. Did you say 35 playoff wins?
Yeah.
Yep. But Montana's second with 16.
That's more than 27 teams, if my math is right. That's more than 27.
The Lions have won playoff wins in the last 67 years. I think I have it that. Yeah. Since 1957, they've won one freaking playoff game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this dude's got 35.
35. This conversation was spurned by Mike Francesca making the comment about what was it, Dave? Was it Montana was the best Super Bowl quarterback he's seen. Payton was the best regular season quarterback he's seen, and so that's what he said, which I took deference to. And again, I wasn't a big Tom guy because he terrorized my division for damn near the entire time he was in the league, for most of it. But when you look at what you just read off, and that's just part of the story, but he's the 199th pick in the 6th round. Like, Hollywood would take a script and take a shit on it and be like, never would happen.
Yeah.
Right. The guy was so paranoid about having to claw for a spot. He would never have guys take reps in front of him. Mm-hmm. He just did not want to get in a position where he felt that, hey, look at another guy. He got Jimmy G jettisoned into the sun, basically, because he just felt like, hey, they're cozying up there. I'm still the guy here. I got 6 rings. Like, get the fuck out of here. So, some of the teams that he beat, some of the games that he had to come back from in Super Bowls, like the Falcons game alone, the guy had 3 Hall of Fame careers, right? You ran off his Super Bowl stats. You got quarterbacks that don't even get that in a regular season, and it's 500 yards in a loss to Nick Foles. So Nick gets to say, I beat the GOAT, and the GOAT threw for 500 yards against me, and won. So I agree with Scott in the beginning, what he said, but what makes it different for me is because of where he was picked, and kind of like the Brady 5, all those quarterbacks that, I mean, the list was horrendous that this guy, he outlasted a lot. I mean, some of the guys that he had to throw to in some of these Super Bowls, I can't name them again, so Payton was a great quarterback, very skilled. I mean, to Matty Ice's point, a savant. Like, he would study film, study guys, how they're standing. If they're flat-footed on this route, I can beat them. Like, he was that guy. Tom had to will some of those wins. He just had to get guys open, throw them open, or just get to a spot. So great is great. And I agree with you, because I went back through our text and I'm like, you know what? I need to listen to Dave when he makes his arguments, because I was just trying to get out the stat lines, but I wasn't really listening to what you were saying about mechanics and all that, which counts.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, and Trey Lance are the 3 best quarterbacks I've ever seen play the game.
But Peyton's a son of a quarterback, of an NFL pro quarterback. Tom's dad was a coach, like, basically, or whatever. So Tom didn't have the pedigree that Eli and Peyton had.
That's not a knock on. It's not a knock on Tom Brady. I'm just saying Peyton Manning and Dan Marino are the 2 most talented quarterbacks I've seen, but they're not the greatest, because Tom Brady is the greatest because of everything. I didn't even mention his 3 NFL regular season MVPs.
This is what I'm saying. Like, it was criminal for. I mean, they said Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame took 13 seconds. Tom should take everyone just nod. We're good here.
With Brady, isn't it just as simple as his will to win is just greater than anybody else's? Period.
No, there's not a luck in there, because was Nick Foles?
I'm just saying, just his overall demeanor as a player. He's not the most talented player. Yeah. He's not the most natural thrower of the ball. He's not super athletic. He's none of those things.
But you can't measure how much a guy wants it.
Exactly.
You can't measure that. You can't not. That's the one metric, and that's what I liked about Kurt Warner. You can't measure. You can measure all the metrics you want, the look, everything. Look at the Rob Johnson. Remember Rob Johnson?
Yeah.
The quarterback and was dog shit. It was dog shit.
He had a cannon.
Definitely had to come in and just show you, hey, I can play this position better than this fucking guy. But yeah, it's undeniably the will to win. The will to win. Oh, there we go.
Jake caught my joke about Andy Marino and Trey Lance being the 3 greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Don't forget Anthony Richardson. Ow.
I don't even know. You see, someone bopped you.
He's Florida's quarterback. Come on.
So the only quarterback left under contract for the Bucks is Kyle Trask. Yes, Cleve, that's a real person.
Jesus, just get ready to ask.
I have no idea what they were doing a few years ago in round 2 taking him, by the way. Cleve, he is a huge guy, a big, huge dude, but
man,
he had Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney and put up decent numbers.
He has very, very poor arm strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really weird because generally those 6'5", 230-pound dudes can sling it. And he's not that guy.
Wow.
And they took him in the 2nd round, and it was just that's really weird. Now, they know, when they, that was with Arians and they know what they're doing. So, that's when people like me need to take a back seat and shut up about it. Apparently I haven't learned that lesson, but it's just weird to for a player like Trask to have the struggles that he has with his size. It's really odd.
Wow.
I can't see him really being the next guy up.
So He's like a Big Ben type prototype. Like he's like that type of big.
Oh no, he's very big. He's a big guy.
Like Burley or just like Cam Newton big. Like
Burley. I want to say he's
is
like
Burley?
6'3" and 6'4" in that range and 230 plus pounds. He's a big quarterback.
Okay.
But he plays a very finesse game.
But he has a T-Rex arm. So
yeah, it's weird. It's just odd.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting because Tom Brady came into the NFL. Was I still in high school? I think so. Because he was drafted in 2000, right? Or 2001. He was drafted in 2001. Wow. April 2001. I graduated high school June 2001.
Wow. So you were in high school when September 11th happened?
No, I graduated the June before.
The June before, okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So yeah, I was out for 3 months. So congratulations to Tom Brady for retiring. Kind of wish he had done it a year sooner if it would have, saved his relationship or whatever. There's no saying that we know that it would have or anything like that. Like, who knows? But if it would have, I wish you would have done it a year sooner. We didn't really need him. It wasn't worth it, in my opinion, from like watching it. Who knows what it was for him, but
Todd Bowles, no. I would have fuck you. I'm done.
So quick sidebar here for Jake. He says Saints are looking at Carr right now. Quick thoughts on that possible signing. Serviceable quarterback, bad division, but it'd work. He'd get the ball to Chris Olave, and that's fine. But Kamara could be gone. Michael Thomas could be gone. That team could look completely different going into next year.
I have no idea how they could even structure a contract for him. They're so far over the cap.
Yeah.
Even if they make some crazy stuff happen, you're still you can't really open up enough money to do it unless you trade Marshawn Lattimore, which to me is super interesting. Because that pulls off like $20 million off the books. And if they're in a position where they're looking to go get Carr, maybe Lattimore could be had.
But wouldn't it make more sense to trade Lattimore to the Bears to move up to number 1 and take the quarterback you want on a rookie contract and use the $20 million you freed up to sign other people to help that rookie quarterback on a rookie contract?
I have no idea, but I don't know why the Bears would do that. I mean, you'd have to give them a shitload of other stuff to do that too. You would, and I don't think they have the a lot of capital. I mean, they don't have a first round pick in this year's draft.
No, the Saints are they're in purgatory.
They are. So this a player like Carr gets them past the purgatory hurdle.
But now if they can't afford anything else,
I don't know how they do it. And it's interesting because you hear two sides talking that in order for him to go meet with the team, they had that the Saints and the Raiders have to have agreed on compensation for him to meet with them. But I'm not sure that that's true. So we'll see if that's the case over the next little while. I don't know that that's exactly how that's shaking out, but that division is going to be interesting. Like I could see Carolina, if Carolina gets a quarterback, Carolina could roll that division. They could. It's just, I mean, same thing. You could say similar things about Atlanta. Atlanta might have a really good offense if they get a quarterback. The problem is their coach.
I was going to say their coach wants to run the ball 47 times a game when you've got Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, it's
What was that high school movie where the kid from Dawson's Creek played the quarterback in
Varsity Blues,
where they ran the ball all the way to like the 1-yard line and they would throw it. It's like they would just run the field for the entire game, and then in the red zone they take the running back out. It's like, all right, we're gonna pass here.
See, here's how we know Clev is a boomer.
Oh,
he says the guy from Dawson's Creek. Any millennial knows that's James Vanderbeek.
Dude, I don't know the guy's name. I just know, which I didn't watch the show, but I knew would see him on the show, whatever. Jesus.
I watched Dawson's all the way through twice.
One more thing about the Tom Brady thing. The sand he was standing on. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
How much did it go for, Clev?
It was $677 when it started. It's up to $100,000 now. $677 when it was jarred. but now it's auctioning on eBay, and then it's gonna go to what's that famous auction house in New York, Sotheby's.
Yeah.
It's gonna end up at Sotheby's. So they're projecting that it might go for like $500,000. The spot that he was standing in, giving
the whole thing is broken if that's happening. Like it's busted.
I mean, it's not even an NFT. What are these people thinking?
The sand where he's standing on, that's fucking amazing.
Like, what even is the value in that? I mean, I guess value is just whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. But like,
hey, you can go on Groupon and buy property on Mars. Did you know that?
Yeah,
you could buy a plot of land on Mars. I'm fucking dead serious. Like they'll give you a deed and everything. Like, it's insane.
Well, that actually makes sense. I mean, that's just getting out front of real estate. Pass that down, 4 generations from now, that could be pretty lucrative.
Can you might. If there are people on Mars that we don't know about, good luck with that deed.
Show up with squatters' rights.
Yeah. Excuse me, Zorb, you're on my land. Can you get out? Yeah, I don't know if that would go over well. But yeah, I mean, I could see if that goes down like through your family and it's like 2250 and like your great whatever has it, and now some conglomerate's going to start building on Mars and you're sitting on the property. It's like when they want to build a stadium and you've got a little place there, they got to pay you for it.
All right. So I said that to say this. Is there anything that either one of you would pay $100,000 for? Sports memorabilia, like something obscure like that. Nothing, huh?
No.
Like the mouthpiece of a guy or something like that. Like nothing.
Do you remember the movie Basketball where the rich guy just had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the case?
Yeah,
maybe if I could pay Kareem a 9 to 5 to just come sit in the case in the house or something like that. Well, it wouldn't be Kareem now. It'd have to be like Steph Curry. Like just come chill in the house as your 9 to 5 once you retire. But no, $100,000 for some sports memorabilia. I mean, if I bought something for $100,000 that I thought I could flip in a little bit for $1 million, then yes, I would do it. Totally but different. just to hold, no.
Yeah. How valuable is that ball that the guy gave back now is worth? The Tom Brady ball, remember? And he threw
he
gave it back. He just gave back his college, his son's college entire
he gave back a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Quick aside here, but Kevin McCarthy is an asshole.
What's he doing?
So the State of the Union is on, and it's like early on in the speech. So this is clearly like just all the like super nice things that the president here is saying. So of course everybody stands up, and it's customary for and like the like normal things here for everybody to stand up and clap or whatever for the we can come together as a country to solve our problems. Everybody stands up and claps and whatever. He's sitting there and he's like giving side eye and like doing this and that. And it's like, bro, you got to be serious. You are the Speaker of the House. I mean, Lord help us, but you are the Speaker of the House. You got to be a bit more serious than that. Come on now. Like he's looking like he wants to be literally anywhere else than at the State of the Union. It's like, bro, if you don't want the job.
Well, he did a lot to get the job.
It's a history resume pattern.
Yeah, it just it's the. Like, how do I want to say this? I have a healthy amount of cynicism for many American institutions because of the nature and origin of their founding and our lack of inclusion in it and the lack of inclusion of women and all that in them. But the general structure of governance is not really one of them. Like, we have a Congress and a president and the Supreme Court, and like, the people who do these things need to take them very seriously.
Yeah, I'm a big pomp and circumstance guy.
Right. Yeah. And like, he's just okay. He said something that they're all standing up for at least. Like, even Matt Gaetz is clapping. So I don't know what he said because it's on mute. But he at least just did it one time.
Biden
stays on mute these days. So.
But like,
I'm stunned that they would actually stand up. I don't think we're our society is set up for people to even remotely consider that at this point. I just don't. We're living in parallel worlds.
Yes, but that's a top-down problem, and it's because of the top-down folks here. So like like lead by example. You literally are. That is literally your job. Is to lead by example. So
yeah, I mean, show up and fake you want to be there. Just go through the pomp and circumstance.
yeah. All right, we're going to cut out our discussion right now for concussions being up this year because we can move that to whenever, off season, whatever. I had a little thing about the Pro Bowl. Did either of you watch any of the Pro Bowl?
No dog in that fight.
Not a freaking second.
Yeah. I didn't even see highlights.
But...
Yeah, fuck that.
Okay,
yeah.
So I watched a little bit, and they were playing on the flag football game on a 50-yard field. Super annoying because there couldn't be enough long touchdowns. Like I want to see Tyreek ripping through the field and going like 90. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and can't even do it.
Here's the thing, man, and we talked about this on Coach and Ice, man. So I would, if you're not going to have a game, and I get it because it's long season, you know, some of these guys have played 18 weeks of football. If you add the preseason in there, you're talking like 21, 22 weeks. I get it. You're in pads for a long time. But why don't we have like, you know, you have your quarterbacks, they get to pick their receivers and the defense gets to pick their corners and have these battles where, you know, it's 3 routes and who wins the route. Shit like that.
That's effectively what it was.
Yeah. I mean, just call it that. A 50-yard field, like, come on, man. Like, come on. And then
they do a lot of that stuff at the Senior Bowl where you get a lot of one-on-ones like that. That would make for
interesting,
incredibly captivating TV.
Of course.
Yes.
Because also, you'd want to hear them yapping.
Also, you know, like, you need stakes.
Yes.
You need stakes. The players on the winning team get 1.5 million. The players on the losing team get $100,000. Like, you got to put some stakes on it.
The NHL does that with their All-Star game now. The winning team in the All-Star game, they spread their $1 million around 9 guys or whatever it is. And to be honest with you, it has not helped. It's a great idea in theory, but it has not helped.
No, I mean, what they pay them now is what the winner's 86,000, the loser's 46,000. It's something low like that. Like the numbers pocket change for most of these guys are multimillionaires. So like that money is going to get pissed at the bar, basically. Yeah. Do you guys remember that show that Michael Irvin had? It was like a short-lived reality show where he had 6 corners, 6 wide receivers.
Yes, yeah.
So remember that drill that they had where it was like half a tennis ball was like cut, and then the guys kind of had it in their palm. So like the balls of the ball was like in their palm. So they had to make the catch, kind of in that, and they're going up against guys. You know, I mean D1 athletes. You know, they're kind of like just pairing these guys out. Like stuff like that to me is very interesting because again, the route. With the quarterbacks, I would just do like how Dave and I always talk about down and distance, three possible scenarios, but then walk me through what you would do here to kind of see the mind of, for people who like football to that. But again, the general public likes football. Like they like to see people crashing into each other.
That's not happening anymore.
But yeah, so I get it that the last time I watched the Pro Bowl was Sean Taylor laying somebody out. That was the last.
It was a punter. It was Brian Mormon.
Yeah, that was 100,000 years ago. And I was like, it's like how Kobe was like playing the All-Star game. He's like, hey, they're keeping score, so fuck you guys. I'm going to play ball here.
Right.
They're keeping score. So what are we doing?
All right.
It's a joke.
We did have some big coaching change news here, so we'll go through these. Some of these might have more to talk about than others. They're in kind of order that they happened, kind of. First of all, Frank Reich hired as head coach of the Panthers. To me, this seems like a good hire. Frank Reich was told to play Parker Ehlinger and then was fired when it predictably went horribly wrong, just so the Colts could bring in Jeff Saturday, Clev.
Did you call him Parker Ehlinger for my benefit there, buddy?
Well, that's what you said his name was.
You should not be listening to me about these things.
Fact check shit before you.
Isn't it Sam Ehlinger?
It turns out his name is Kyle Trask. No, it's
Listen, I have since I had COVID a few years ago, I cannot do the name thing anymore. You guys have heard me do it. Mark Andrews is Mark Edwards. I have referred to Anthony Richardson as Antonio Richardson no less than 100 times in the last week. And I am convinced now that's his stage name. Like it has to be. And that's the way I'm going to refer to it. But it is just the craziest thing. Is it? So right now, I don't know which Ehlinger is it?
His name is Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah.
Is he related to Parker?
I don't think Parker Ehlinger is a real person. No, no, you just made him up.
Should be a real person.
I have to. We'll talk about it on Sunday. I'm Googling it when we're done.
We are like 2 steps away from Parker Ehlinger being Trump's next vice president on QAnon boards. Like, this is how this stuff gets started.
Hey, I read it online.
One person gets mistakenly convinced they're telling the truth, and then it just takes off. So I thought Frank Reich I didn't think he was like the greatest coach ever, but he was definitely right out the building, kind of shady, like in Indy, just to make room for Jeff Saturday, Cleve.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jeff parties with Ursay to get their beak wet, as Scott likes to say. So what do you think is going to happen?
Just to be clear, political football and Matty Ice Media are not alleged that Jeff Saturday does cocaine.
Yeah,
with Ursay, I'm pretty sure it's not an allegation. If it is, we're not alleging it, but we're not formally accusing Jeff Saturday of partaking in illegal narcotics. Formally. Sean Payton hired by the Broncos in exchange for a first-round pick and a third-round pick. Scott, do you think that the price that was paid for Sean Payton was fair?
I guess it wasn't. I guess that means the Saints do have a first-round pick then, right? Or is that next year's first-round pick?
Maybe it's next year's because they had to trade. They traded this year's to go get Olave.
Yeah, so I think it's fine. I think whatever happened in that building last year was a total disaster. I don't know if you caught the part of the press conference where they asked him whether he was going to allow Russell Wilson's personal coaches and trainers to be in the building, and he shut that down.
They're
and
gone.
I could see that being an issue.
They're gone. They're fucking.
They are. Yes, and he was like, "Yeah, that's a foreign concept to me. We're not doing that here."
I got my own guy.
And
he's gonna bring his own guy, which he should. He should bring his own guy in.
Yeah, but it's like, you're not. It's obvious that Russell Wilson should feel a little bit not threatened, but challenged at this point.
Yeah, they rolled it out for him. Hackett laid down and curtailed to everything that they wanted, parking spots, all that bullshit. Yes. But now you're gonna live up to the money that we're gonna pay you. Like, you're gonna fucking play ball, and your quarterback guy.
Wonder, is Wilson involved? Is he gonna buy in? We'll see.
I mean,
it's a great hire. Payton's
they upgraded, especially from what from Hackett.
Yeah. Cleve, any idea what happened to Nathaniel Hackett?
Oh yeah, he's with us.
I should be happy about that. He's a good coordinator.
No, he's not. No, he is not. He was Aaron Rodgers' coordinator, which means he got the water for Aaron Rodgers.
It's the same. It's the same thing with Gase being Peyton Manning. It's the same fucking thing, and I agree with Dave.
But just because you're a good coordinator doesn't mean you make a good head coach. In fact, I would say that you should stay a coordinator.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, some guys are built for those type of jobs. They're not to be elevated.
I just think he's not necessarily. I think the last 2 years of Aaron Rodgers have been catered to Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know that he totally did.
I mean, he's peddling the currency of being that with that guy. He's attaching he's hitching his wagon to that guy, and it's like. It doesn't work anymore because, again, we saw it with Gase. Gase was Peyton's guy, but we knew it was Peyton, not fucking Gase.
Nathaniel Hackett and Adam Gase are the empty suits in Office Space.
Yeah,
they don't do anything. They don't contribute anything. Every chance they have to, they're terrible. They're connected to first ballot Hall of Fame, all-time great quarterbacks. And then they want to act like they're worth something or they're doing something. We don't know if Nathaniel Hackett's a good coordinator because he's been coordinating with Aaron Rodgers. Like, we're going to see. So he's been coordinating with who knows with the Jets. Maybe with Aaron Rodgers again. And we could just convince ourselves that he's a good coordinator. But I could be Aaron Rodgers' offensive coordinator because all I have to do is stand there and make sure he's got Gatorade.
We had his dad at one point. We had Nathaniel Hackett's dad at one point back in the day. And that didn't work out good.
Now, if hiring Hackett gets Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, then it's a good hire. But it's not pretend that, like.
Yeah, we talked about that, And again, as talented as a player he is, and I'm separating the man from the football.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in the New York market, he may have the tough skin to deal with that. But I think with him being, he's not a diva per se, but him having his own way, him and Salah would bump heads. I believe him and that staff would bump heads because, again, he's coming in like, hey, I only got one Super Bowl, but he's a very, very good quarterback, a very good talent. But I don't think that the way, because him and LaFleur used to have kind of like contention.
Yeah.
And so I see that him being that kind of guy where he's going to speak his mind and speak up, which you should if you're, if you're playing ball. But I think two alpha males in that situation, I don't know.
Here's the thing about that, and I think that it's reasonable to think going from Green Bay to New York because there are differences. I don't want to ignore that. Nobody outside of the major East Coast markets gives a shit about the major East Coast markets, right? He is from San Francisco. He went to Cal, then he's been in Green Bay. He does not care about New York or the New York media or the New York landscape or none of it. And neither do I, and neither does Scott, neither does anybody else who is not from there.
I'm telling you from being there, it's like, okay, so the Eagles are an East Coast team. When you're getting booed in at Lincoln Financial, or you're getting booed at the Meadowlands or MetLife, it's different, man. When you're that guy and they're just fucking raining down boos on you. Ask Brett Favre about that. Ask Fitzpatrick about that.
No, here's the difference. Here's the difference. It would be concerning if you gave power and authority to the fan bases in these markets. But the reason these markets, it's a self-serving prophecy. The people in the markets act over the top. So the market's reputation for being over the top. So you have to be over the top or have a thick skin to deal with it. Aaron Rodgers just won't respect the Jets fan base if they're booing him for no reason. He just won't respect the media members if they're writing things about for no reason. He will just keep doing his thing and not caring about them. And for those of us not from those areas, it's the same thing. I don't care about, if I went to the Giants and the Giants fans are booing for no reason, I'd be like, wow, these fans are terrible. I'm going to go sign with somebody else where they're not terrible anymore. The rest of us don't care whether we're working there or going there or fans of there. And the way we judge the people out of Stephen A. Smith and all that, we don't, we do not care.
So East Coast sports, and I'm lumping everything on the Eastern Seaboard from fucking
DC
Boston.
Up.
Yeah, DC up. The Patriots with all the Super Bowl wins, these guys have a fucking 10-5 season. They're shitting all over that team. They're telling these guys you're fucking horrible. You guys suck. And Tom was getting dressed down in wins. Gronk was saying they were getting dressed down in wins. Like, hey, you guys look like shit out there. You know, and I'm like, dude, we got 6 championships and lay off a little bit. But they're expecting more. So you're right. Aaron probably won't give a shit because of his personality. But again, you'll lose the locker room. You'll lose your guys because, again, we saw it with fucking Zach, who's not even close to Aaron Rodgers. We saw the city turn on this guy, and this guy has a broken thing because of it.
Right. But what I'm saying is the concept of the city turning on a guy is something that only matters to people in and around those cities. The rest of us don't care. We never consider Detroit turning on a guy. Right? That's not a thing that happens other places. It's not a consideration. The Chiefs aren't worried about the city turning on Travis Kelce. It's not a thing anywhere else. That is a thing in the major northern East Coast markets where the fan bases are out of their minds, which sometimes is a great thing, right? But in situations like this, it's a bad thing. Aaron Rodgers does not care what the Jets fans think of him. He's just trying to win another Super Bowl, right? It's the Jets fans. It's a self-feeding thing. The rest of us don't care. I don't care about the New York media market as what they have to say about things. I don't think it's more important than anything else, or Philly or Boston or DC where we're at. I don't care about none of that. And neither does Aaron Rodgers.
See, and we could put this to bed now. So if he's winning, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
You start losing and doing the shit you did, shit that you did in Green Bay at the end there, throwing fucking whatever. I'm telling you, it's going to be rabid dogs on this guy. And again, I've been in that stadium where I'm like, holy shit. This is so it's like the gladiators getting the thumbs down from Nero. I'm like, damn, You know, this guy's out there trying to play a football game and entertain you guys, and it's life or death. Like they're threatening this guy's family, like they're yelling all kinds of shit. And again, they're fueled by the drinking and the tailgating and all of that.
Yeah, you're right. Not a lot of drinking and tailgating in Green Bay.
So it's just saying, like, I don't know his psyche inside, but if he came there, he would have to lighten up a little bit. Because if he's telling Green Bay to relax, I'm telling you, it's going to be the same thing in New York.
I don't think that's in his DNA to lighten up a little bit. I don't think he gives two.
Why we wouldn't, and that's why we wouldn't bring him in, or at least the consensus would be like, hey, you know what? As great as that guy is, fuck him. We don't need him.
Right. But here's the thing. If the Jets make a decision not to add Aaron Rodgers to their team because they're afraid of how the fans are going to react if things don't go right, that would explain why the Jets are the Jets in the first place.
Correct.
Right. That is why.
Right.
That is
so in like non-East Coast cities, the teams just make decisions and don't really care about what the fan, like if they're gonna whatever. Like we had to put with Matt Millen for 8 years. Like you just make the decision you think is best and you keep going. So I understand that like the fans of the Colts aren't gonna like storm the stadium like they would if the Jets hired Jeff Saturday, right? But what I'm saying is that the Jets fans act this way and then reinforce themselves that this is the way to act. And the media wants those same people to listen to them. So they reinforce it's the way to act. And the rest of us are like.
Point taken. Yeah.
Right.
Point taken. I mean, look at the quarterbacks we had through there. Vic, fucking Fitzpatrick. I mean, come on.
Don't leave out butt fumble.
Dude went 2 AFC championship games, though.
He did.
Yeah.
He can actually say that for the Jets fandom. He can actually say that.
Yeah, think about what it would be for Rodgers if I mean, last thing for me, if Rodgers goes to the Jets and they win, right? I mean,
that would be incredible. That would be incredible. Yeah, that would be incredible. Yeah. Like honestly, I would, like I said, mad from the football. Like as a football player, undoubtedly, like bring him in. You know, help us pay for his ticket to get him there. Yeah. But I don't want to see him at the presser. I don't want to hear shit that he's got to say. Just go play football, bro. That's all I need you to do.
That would be great. If we never had to hear from him again about some of this nonsense, it would be great.
And I don't want to make it seem like, I mean, I don't like the Northeastern markets for this very reason.
I know
but,
you don't.
But there are aspects of it that I like. It's just the lack of awareness of their own insanity.
Yeah. Aaron
right?
Judge had a
like
great
the Bills have it right. The Bills Mafia are perfectly aware of who they are. So it becomes like niche and fun and kind of quirky. They're jumping through tables and whatever, right? Whereas like I'm not so sure Patriots fans realize who they are.
Yeah,
right?
Or how spoiled they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hasn't every city in Boston won at least one championship since 2008?
Yeah, they've had. I mean, there's probably confetti still on the street somewhere out there.
Right. But even for like the Jets, where they haven't won anything in a while, like it's still the same sort of thing. So I know what you're saying. Like I'm not denying what you're saying, Cleve. I'm just saying that I don't think Aaron Rodgers himself cares.
Gives a shit. Yeah.
Right. All right, DeMeco Ryans hired by the Texans. This is the third year in a row the Texans have hired a black head coach, which sounds good to realize it's the third year in a row, which means they keep firing the black head coaches.
It's a setup job. It's a setup job.
Yeah, now he was currently formerly the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, Cleve. So young guy, obviously coordinated a great defense. You were actually very high on the Texans coming into this year.
Mm-hmm.
You may have predicted Lovie Smith to win Coach of the Year. So,
did I? Fuck. Man, was I getting my beak wet?
What were you doing?
But now, like, here's the exact quote. You said,
"Oh God."
I said, okay, Cleve, who's going to win Coach of the Year? And you said Lovie Smith, and I said no, Cleve, in the year 2022.
Oh my God. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, and we had a conversation about like if you could win Coach of the Year if you didn't make the playoffs, and like it was fine, but now they actually have like a good young coach coming in. Setup's kind of the same. They've got two first-round picks each for the next 3 years.
At least the next two. I'm not sure about 3, but they have 2 and 12 this year. They have I want to say they have the Browns first in 2024 as well.
Yeah.
They're set up, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
so-
set up as far as picks goes, but you gotta hit those picks.
Yeah, so D'Amico Ryans to me is like one of the most clear cut. This guy is a coordinator who should be a head coach. Like this is the Bieniemy thing, but they didn't wait 87 years to give him a shot. And with all those picks and stuff, I'm actually a little excited to see what he can do there.
Me too.
Just do like the Lovey thing. Just stand there.
With his
Collecting
white
your
beard.
check.
No clipboard, nothing. Like just no menu. Just
If Lovey
get your
Smith
check.
and if Lovey Smith and
Lovey,
Todd
though.
Bowles were on opposite sidelines staring at each other, would that like create a tear of the time space continuum? Like a black hole? Is that how black holes get started?
Probably.
Just the absolute lack of emotion just rips
He
time
did
in
not
half.
give a shit, dude. Like, he just stood there and got a check. Like, it was like
Well, I'm sure he knew. He knew what was happening.
Cleve
placeholder.
definitely would not have tipped Lovey Smith last year.
Jeez. Wow. You know, the notorious non-tipper, Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Notorious non-tipper. It's insane.
Yeah. Scottie Pippen. No
Really?
tipping Pippen. Yeah, no tipping Pippen. Yeah.
Jesus. Wow.
Tiger Woods got busted for that one time.
Yeah.
Come on. These guys, come on. Like, seriously?
Yeah, I think Tiger course corrected pretty quick. No pun intended. But
He did some other things too.
yes.
Wow.
No idea if he was tipping.
All
right.
That was great.
Kellen Moore fired as offensive coordinator of the Cowboys and hired as offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Cleve, do you think this means Justin Herbert might throw a deep pass this year?
You know what, man? The timing of that was kind of suspect. Them firing him.
Yeah.
What was going on that day? It was something going on in the league that day. Was it
the Brady day?
No. It was Championship Sunday.
Oh, okay. It broke on that day.
Yeah. Broke on that day, and they try to say it was a mutual thing or whatever, but I just think he was showing the door because they had to publicly.
Oh, this is
execute
McCarthy
somebody.
saving his ass for
Yeah,
sure.
Yes.
yeah, they had to
Yeah.
give someone up. Like,
Yeah.
bring someone out for the public execution, and that's it. So yeah, that's
So
what
the way I
was
viewed
about.
that one was like if you look at who the coordinator was before, who got fired, Joe Lombardi, who might be the worst offensive coordinator in the history of football. And I'm not that's not hyperbole. Like the shit that he asks his players to do is just nonsense. And the lack of awareness, like, dude, Joe Lombardi, you have Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson, and you're throwing screen passes to I don't even know who, and you're asking your center to come off the edge and pick up Everson Griffin instead of blocking him. Like, what are you doing?
Criminal.
But it's amazingly crazy, the scheme. But the idea that he shackled Herbert too, it's the same stuff. So if you look at Lombardi and think about how bad he was, and you think about Kellen Moore, even if he's an average coordinator, it's a giant upgrade for the Chargers. It just is.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is a huge thing. And also, Mike McCarthy is an offensive coach. Brandon Staley is not. He's a defensive coordinator turned coach. So
Yeah.
Kellen Moore is going to get to actually run the offense unencumbered by Jason Garrett's clapping and Mike McCarthy doing whatever it is he does in his barn.
And it'll be very interesting to see what he does with Herbert.
Yeah. Also, if I could bet this right now, I would. The Chargers are drafting a wide receiver in the first round this year.
Oh, who though?
Whoever, Josh Addison, whoever.
Did you just say Josh Addison?
Huh?
Is that really his name?
Yeah, the guy from USC,
Is that really his first name?
isn't it?
Jesus,
Doesn't
you guys,
sound right.
You guys need to
I think
fact
it's
check
Jordan.
this shit.
Is it Jordan Addison?
Yeah.
Fuck, guys.
Josh Jordan, Mike Edwards,
Just make it up.
whatever.
Listen. They're going to draft Parker Addison.
Peter
That's the
Parker.
point.
Pick the pepper.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah,
fuck?
they're gonna get White Mike Addison. Like it doesn't matter. They'll get somebody. They'll get somebody in here.
Well, they're going to kind of need to because they're not going to be able to pay. I mean, they paid Mike Williams. I think they're going to be moving on from Keenan Allen, which is kind of a big loss. But yeah. You got to replace some of that for sure.
Yep, absolutely. The Cowboys replaced Kellen Moore with Brian Schottenheimer, so I'm sure that will solve everything.
This guy's getting recycled crazy, bro.
Yeah. Dallas, yeah. Good for Dallas. That's great.
Whatever.
Cleve Mike McCarthy said that even with adding Schottenheimer, he is still going to retain the play calling duties.
Someone needs to stand on the sideline with the Flavor Flav clock just to show him the fucking clock. Like, hey, clock management here. Got bigger problems, buddy.
All right, couple more here. These are they're all coordinators, but they're all kind of big deals in my opinion. The first one is Vic Fangio, hired as the Dolphins defensive coordinator. He's widely considered one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, and the Dolphins are pretty good, Cleve. If they're adding one of the top defensive coordinators of the game, do you think that gives them an opportunity to actually win the AFC East?
I think so. I think they were. I mean, obviously they gave up. Kellen Moore was like the scapegoat or whatever, but Dak is the issue, or was the issue for them this year, right? Is that what we're talking about?
You think Dak was the issue and not shitty coaching and shitty play calling and shitty offensive setup?
Execution has to be. I mean, he's not. Well, from what I saw, the games that I saw where he had bad games, I went back and looked at the highlights. I don't even know what he was looking at, but he's checking down and he's just. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Like, you're thrown into a window that you can't get, and then sometimes you're staring right at a guy and you just throw it right into his hands. I'm like, so 15 interceptions, that ain't bad coaching. That's fucking execution. That's like, hey, I didn't tell you to go there. You got 300 receivers.
Honestly, I don't know that Dak has ever been the same since he fractured his ankle, and then I think it was the next training camp when he hurt his shoulder.
Yeah, when they're on Hard Knocks.
It's just never been the same. Like, the ball comes out and it's wobbly. It's just different, and he doesn't run.
No, definitely doesn't run. Yeah, he doesn't run.
Not like he used to, for sure. Yeah. And Dave, you were mentioning the Dolphins. I think that it's like inverted Chargers stuff. I think that. Like, you have Mike McDaniels as the offensive guru, and now he gets just to say, "Hey, Vic, run the defense," and that's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think they can win the AFC East. I do.
Yes. Although that, of course, hinges a lot on Tua's health, and concussions is one of those things where the re-injury rate is pretty high. So notice Cleve that Tua has not broken his hip again, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's just the concussions there. Second to last one, Brian Flores hired as Vikings defensive coordinator. Was the linebacker coach for the Steelers last year after being fired by Miami as head coach. No word on his pending lawsuit with the NFL, unless you have any news there, Scott.
No, not a clue.
I forgot that happened. I mean, I'm not being an asshole about it. I just forgot that one. Because there was no major traction on that, like the last.
Yeah, there hasn't really been. There's been nothing talked about. I know there's been discovery and all that stuff, but just from a football standpoint, I think he's a really good coach.
Yeah.
And I don't love that he's in the NFC North right now. I'm not a big fan of that.
Me either.
Yep.
The Vikings defense was ass-tacular.
They were, and that's an old defense, like old. I don't know how they flipped that around, but
we'll see.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The youngest player on the Vikings defense this year was Mike Singletary.
Wow.
Not really, but it felt like it.
No, I got what you're saying. Like 1,000 fucking years old.
And finally here, Steve Wilkes goes to the 49ers as defensive coordinator. He was the interim coach for the Panthers after Matt Rule got fired. And there were reports that a lot of the players wanted to keep him
I heard that too.
As head coach. So this is just another sharp move by sharp organization, right? You got the offensive head coach, bring in Steve Wilkes to just completely run defense, just like Scott was pointing out in Miami. And you know what? The 49ers are probably going to make the divisional round again next year. Minimum.
So hidden in that is this is even a smarter move. So they bring in Steve Wilkes and they make sure that he talks to their defensive line coach. His name is Chris Kaczurek. He used to coach the defensive line with the Detroit Lions. He is a really, really good coach. They run that wide 9. They like to widen out their defensive ends and just let them go. And they want to assault one gap, Cleve. That's all they want to do. Just win your gap. And their personnel is set up such that they can't really go away from that. So they want to make sure that whoever they're bringing in is in lockstep with Kachurik as far as the way they're going to run their defense and their personnel and these things. And they don't just assume that it's going to happen. They actually have these guys meet and they talk and they get on the same page. And I guess it was great. And that's what a smart franchise does.
Yeah.
Not just, I think these guys will get together and get along. It seems like they're,
fucking
yes,
fucking
but
assholes.
like I think that's super smart stuff. It's very smart roster management stuff. You've spent the last 5-6 years developing your roster, and now you're going to throw it out the window because you're going to bring in a new coordinator who's going to do things differently. No, keep some level of consistency, and you get a new voice and all that stuff. But I think it's super smart what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I continue to be impressed with the 49ers as an organization. It'll be interesting to see what they do here in the offseason. Okay, well, Cleve, thank you for starting us off with that interesting and different topic. That was that was awesome.
We learned something. That's good.
No, it again, I really wanted your take on it, and I saved it for the show because I was going to actually text you last night, but I was like, I'm not going to bother you. I'm like, you know what? I want to see what their take is. Just for the record, Coach agreed. No, I'm sorry. Coach said he was a coward, that he would just tip, like just on the shame alone, like okay, and he would just tip. He called me a hero of the working man. That I looked the guy in the eye and just said fuck off. Right? Matt kind of had a similar take to you, but he also had a similar take to Scott, saying that when it's expected. Like it was like the pat flips around and you look at it and then you make your choice or not make your choice. But when the guy's staring you down, like, go ahead and draw here.
Now that dude was smiling at you and was like,
very smug.
But if he was though, if he was,
I would have been disarmed. Yeah, I would have been disarmed and probably most likely, okay, yeah, I'll give a little something here.
Right, but that goes back to my point. The tip isn't for the service, really. I mean, don't me wrong. If he threw an N bomb and tried to punch you, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be tipping. But but generally speaking, the tip is just for the work having been performed. If you don't like his attitude or something, that's a discussion with the manager, just like it would be at Chick-fil-A, right? So whether he's being smug or he's smiling or whatever, for all we know, the last customer in before you was a real jerk and called him every manner of so-and-so. So now he's just kind of down in the dumps, looking like whatever. We just don't know.
Yeah,
right?
When people say that, I work in a service industry. Property management is actually it's a customer service, very, very heavy customer service. It's accounting, it's all the other things, it's business relations. But at the end of the day, we're managing someone's life because it's a move and all of that.
Yeah.
If I have a resident or a vendor or my boss rip me a new one, I can't carry that into the next conversation or the next encounter. I got to put on a happy face and act like I'm in Smurf fucking village and just say, hey, you know what? We're good here. I'm not afforded that. And I look at that for that. You got to have a short memory, like a quarterback throwing an interception and says, fuck it. Next play, next man up. Because again, if you're going to be that perturbed because some guy treated you like shit, then you don't need to be working in the service industry, because we all have our moments and we take them into restaurants and act out basically. So,
Cleve, have you ever worked as a server?
No, the only jobs I've ever held was I worked for the Postal Service out of college. But I worked in the plant, and I was a mailman for a short stint, which I hated. And then I've worked in insurance on the HMO side, and then I got into real estate. So I've never worked as a server per se, or in a fast food joint, those type of jobs I've never had.
You could do it for one day.
Oh no, I can't handle. I can't handle you know what it is. I can't handle the pace of it. I can't handle the pace of it. I can't handle so.
Oh, you mean the job could be overwhelming?
Yeah, no.
Uh-oh.
Again,
Here we go.
I'm saying that I can't deal with a customer like me. I just couldn't do it because there's a restaurant in New York City. God, I can't remember the name of it, but they insult you. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this.
Is that Peter Luger's?
It might be like where they like when you order, they tell you like, man, hurry the fuck up. Like it's actually great. The food's great, but they literally like just kind of tell you they're rude on purpose to you, right? I mean, there's a line in the sand where they don't go racial or homophobic or whatever, but they they kind of make it whatever. But I would love a day, and I've always said this, where everyone should have a day. It's a national holiday where you go to work and be Dave when you go to work. So if someone upsets you or whatever, just be you for that one day. I bet you there's no calling out that day. I bet you the production on the job will be very high because everyone just get to be themselves, to tell their boss, you know what, fuck off, Peter, I'm done.
Wait, so everybody, not just the customers, but to other employees, they can be themselves?
You're you. And it's like The Purge, where you try to kill a guy all night, and the next day,
I think that's what would happen.
I'll give you your mower back.
Cleve, you do realize that like 43% of people voted for Trump, right? Those people can just be themselves at the office.
Dude,
we'd have some problems.
Yeah, dude, but it's like The Purge. I tried to kill Scott all night, and then as soon as that alarm goes off, I'm like, hey, I got your clippers. You want them back? Your hedge clippers? Like, we're good now. As I'm holding a shotgun to his back.
Hey, I was just kidding. I didn't mean anything I said to you.
Yeah, but I just wanted your take on it. Well, mainly you, because I was expecting what you gave me, but I felt guilted and I felt wrong and I should know better. But now you've given me perspective and I actually appreciate that. So
yeah. Well, that's political football for this week. Again, big game pre-show Bedlam Sunday at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Iceman and Coach, political football. That's us. Reading the defense. We'll all be doing our shows all back to back to back. We will be previewing the game and going through our hilarious preseason predictions.
I can't.
that we made. And wow, let me tell you,
Baker Mayfield.
Cleve. I'm sure I've sure.
Oh my God! There's nothing worse than that.
No, that was the worst one. That was the worst one.
Yeah, it had to be. That's undefeated. That's undefeated.
Yes. Especially because you said Baker Mayfield for Offensive Player of the Year, and I said Justin Jefferson, who's probably going to win. So like juxtaposed next to each other.
It's gonna be good. I can't wait.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. So that's gonna be on Sunday. If you're watching live on YouTube, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. The chat, all that makes the show just go that much better. Please be sure to like the video if you haven't already. Subscribed to the video, to the channel, get notifications when we go live again. If you're listening on audio, we are YouTube live stream. Link in the show notes below so you can come and subscribe to the channel. Know when we're going live as well. Cleve, any final words?
Nah, I mean, I can't believe the Super Bowl is here. It's a long season, and it's I can't. So I'm hyped for it. On we'll talk about it on the show, but I'm hyped for it. So it's been a long season.
Scott, final words.
Same stuff. I'm excited for the show, for the Super Bowl, all that stuff. Dave, you know me. I'm excited for the offseason and the draft and that whole thing, but I'm also dreading it. That makes sense.
Yes. Underdog releases their first 2023 season-long fantasy best ball tournament on Friday.
Are you
with all the rookies this Friday, February 10th?
Wait a minute, how did you fare during the season?
So I actually did pretty well. I made the finals of 3 different tournaments, but managed to min cash all of them in the finals. My team that I had going for $2 million, I only had one quarterback because one was Trey Lance. I got a Trey Lance team all the way through to the finals. Wow. But the other quarterback was Kirk Cousins. That was the game at Green Bay where they got absolutely obliterated. So, yeah, that was not fun. But it was great getting through all the way to the final. So, yeah, we'll be running it back next year. Maybe not for the full $2 million tournament, but I had 735 teams last year.
That's incredible.
Don't know if I can match that this year because I'm getting married.
Yeah, you probably should not.
You ain't,
So-
yeah. Don't.
Well, I'm just saying because there's going to be like a couple weeks where I just won't be doing any.
Yeah, you're not going to have time to do it.
Yeah.
Right. But then do I plan before and do more? Like, we'll see. We'll see if I get there or not. But I will not be doing making fantasy football picks like during the rehearsal dinner.
I would hope not.
Yes, not a good look.
Yeah, my fiance is quite understanding and quite awesome, but it only goes so far.
Yeah.
Everybody has a limit. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We will see all of you on Sunday, hopefully. Sunday, Matty Ice Media Network. Peace.
Peace.